Welcome back to the Your Golf Performance Podcast. We're joined with a fellow Aussie, Craig Hocknull. He's lived over in the US most of his life. But Craig, thanks for coming on to having a chat.
Yeah, mate, you want me to throw on the Aussie accent?
Just before we hit record, I said, hey, should I intro you as the Aussie with an American accent? And we sort of had a giggle. But, mate...
Yeah, switch it to Scottish. I'm a wee granny from Scotland. Do whatever you want.
This is awesome. Hey, for those of you who don't know your story, you're a PGA professional. You're Australian. You went to college golf over there. You're a heck of a player. You've played in major championships. It's just about nothing you can't do. So I've always had you on my list for a while to pick your brain. Let's go back to the early days. How'd your journey start?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was my wee granny from Scotland was like, hey, this kid can take a plastic club and ping pong balls all over the place. He's a golfer. Like, let's get him into the game. And my dad was not a golfer. He didn't play. And but he picked up the Jack Nicklaus Golf My Way book and started reading through it and started coaching me. And so really the early days for me was an Aussie Rules football field in the Northern Territory, just outside of the city of Darwin, where I would take a shag bag and a cut down 7-iron with a green victory grip and hit ball in the Aussie Rules football field. And so Darwin was where I really kind of started playing golf, and then pretty quickly started winning trophies. So that was kind of just what kicked it off for me. You know, it was rough because all my mates were playing Aussie Rules football and cricket, and I wanted to play all those sports, but I was doing well in golf. So I enjoyed playing all those sports with them, but I don't know, I think I enjoyed collecting the trophies as well. So
at what point did you realize, this could become a career path rather than just a passion?
So funny enough, my Filipino grade 2 teacher, Vicky Simmons, once asked me that question, what are you going to do with your life? And I said, I'm going to be a PGA Tour player. And when I win my first $1 million, I'm going to buy you a new, she had a really sporty convertible RX-7 convertible. And I said, I'm going to buy you a new convertible. So every year for the last, 50 years, basically, 48 years or something, she keeps asking me, where is the sports car you promised me? But,
So from a very young age, it was basically, were you just obsessed with golf and it was all you wanted to do?
I was really obsessed with sports, and I just enjoyed winning because I was small. I'm only 5'6", and although I can run fast and throw a cricket ball far, and I was a good bowler and a good batsman and all that, it just was never going to be something that I could do, as a career. But golf was something that I was really good at, and it didn't seem to matter if you were not that big. You could still hit the ball far, and you could still have a good short game and putting. And so I think it was always going to be my career, whether it was playing full-time, coaching full-time, something. Fortunately, I had a lot of great role models. Peter Claughton at the Coralbin International School. He did such a great job with that program. We had, such great coaches like, the Ross Herbert, Steve Bann, Bill McWilliam, even Ken Duke. We had so many great golf professionals come through and pour into us at Coralbin. And that was probably, my high school years there when it really started to actually become a reality where I could potentially get a scholarship and go play college golf in America. Other players like Peter Armstrong's, Jonathan Riley's, and those guys were representing Australia. They were winning. I think they won the the international team event, the 3-ball event that they did. But for me, I wasn't as good as those guys. I was not as good of a player in my high school years. So getting that opportunity to play college golf in America was really kind of where I thought, okay, now it's real. Like now I can actually go and do something and separate myself from maybe what the other kids were doing.
And you went on to play golf at Jackson State University, if I'm right.
Yeah, correct. Jackson State in Mississippi. My dad and I wrote 30. We had put together 30 packets. This is manila envelopes. This is, stuffed full of every photocopied article you could imagine, way before the internet even existed. And I think we spent, I want to say it was almost $50 per letter, per envelope that we mailed from Australia. And we sent to 30 colleges. We sent my packet, just hoping, fingers crossed, that it would land on some coach's desk, and they would open it and look through some of the articles and go, okay, this is a kid we want. I got two offers, one from Grand Canyon University in Arizona, and then Jackson State University in Mississippi. And when I asked some friends, like, hey, where should I go? They said, well, Division 1 is better than Division 2. You should probably go there. And then we had to look up the encyclopedia. We had to look at, where is Mississippi? Where is Jackson? What's the demographics of Jackson? We had no idea. But when a full ride scholarship came in, and I knew basically I was going to get a free education and get to travel America and play tournament golf, it was, I took my Cobra staff bag like this one, and put it in a massive travel case with some clothing and one suitcase, jumped on a plane and came to America. And I basically, that was in 1993, and I really have not gone back. So that's, what, 30 years ago, have not gone back. So
That's now interestingly, I played college golf in 2002, and me and my buddy that went over there, we used the Ping College Golf Guide. Remember, there was a book,
yeah,
but another guy that was around my time who went over there, he was like, "Oh, there is a guy in Queensland who can help you find a scholarship," and it was your dad. I
yeah.
found out sometime. So obviously, that whole process, did he sort of turn it into, like, I guess a little business where he was actually helping kids find scholarships over in the US?
Yeah, basically, I mean, we cracked the system, right? We, as the kids say, we discovered the cheat code, and somehow this little Australian kid was able to slide in under the radar and pick up one of these coveted scholarships. And so I think from that, he just decided, okay, well, this is how you have to do it, because there was so much back and forth. As you know, the academic situation between Australia and America is so different too, that even just understanding transcripts and understanding what counted. I mean, since that time, I think my dad said he sent up over 1,000 students from Australia, New Zealand, the Pacific Islands in the area, to all kinds of sports, from swimming to tennis to track and field, even a rodeo scholarship. I think there's a Queen, Queenslander rodeo stars that went over to Colorado somewhere on a rodeo scholarship. So yeah, dad picked up that ball, and basically it started very organically. Even just parents at Corralbin would ask him, "Okay, your son made it there. How do we do this thing?" And he would just help them out, no charge. And then he found College Prospects of America and kind of created a business through that. And yeah, he did that for many years.
It was cool. Sort of, it's one of my other mates, Christian Rainey. We were chatting, and then we sort of put it all together and went, "Hang on a minute, that's his dad." Yeah, because I actually met you at the PGA show in Orlando, 2017 or 2019, one of the years. You turned around and introduced yourself, and then went, "Hang on a minute, you boys have got Aussie accents," and yeah. So,
Yeah.
what followed on from college for you?
Yeah, I mean, the plan was just to go like Tiger Woods, just go conquer the world, right? When when he got on the stage and came out and said "Hello World" and began playing as a professional, he was doing that without completing his college years. So he's about a year younger than me. And so I was graduating. So it was kind of the same timing for me. I was graduating college. I had met my wife, who we've been married like 29 years now. My wife, Laura, we got three boys. But at that time, it was like, okay, we're young. What do we want to do? And I told her, I said, well, there's only a couple places where I think I can live. I can live in Arizona, California, Florida, maybe Texas, because I'm going to go on tour and I need to have access to tournaments and I need to play. And so she said, okay, well, I'll try to find a job. So she found a job in Arizona. And we had choices between Arizona and Las Vegas. And we landed on Arizona, went to Yuma, Arizona, where I started my career. But my tournament golf did not take off. My senior year of college, I had to, as part of my degree, so my degree is in recreation therapy. So I had an internship where I would work super late hours at a behavioral health hospital, and then I would go to class and then I would play. And when that was kind of winding down, I kind of got a little crazy with the practice and I wore out my wrist. I hit so many balls that I sustained like a repetitive stress injury tendonitis in my left thumb. And I tried to play immediately after college in some mini tour events in the Midwest and in California, but it was so painful that I just struggled and struggled. So I eventually just said, hey, I can't play right now, and picked up a real job in Yuma. And then, that was the time where I thought, okay, let's just chill on this, get the whole family going. And my wife and I decided, after a few years, we would start our family. And that's when I pivoted really from the tournament golf into the coaching side.
Hey guys, I have developed a 22 video series that I'm giving away for free. It was going to be a paid course and it will eventually be a paid course, but to all my Your Golf Performance podcast listeners, I've decided to give it away for free. So scroll down to the bottom, have a look in the show notes, and you'll see a link. All you need to do is just pop your name and your email and where you live, sort of roughly what scores you shoot, whether it's your handicap or when you're out on the golf course. Hit submit, and each day you'll be drip fed a different video to help you get better at golf. They don't really require hitting a golf ball. There is a lot of time poor people that I am noticing that want to get better at golf. So I've developed these videos just to, I guess, help you get a better understanding of the actual movement patterns that we need. So if you want to grab those videos, the 22 videos to help you get better at golf from home without a ball, head to the show notes and click on the link. I love it how us golfers term things real jobs, because we get to go our whole life, I guess, doing stuff that we love, So obviously you're well known for being a very good coach, but also you can still compete. You've played Corn Ferry events, you've played PGA Tour events, you've played the PGA Championships, so you've played majors. Like, what are some of your favorite memories from tournament golf?
Yeah. So, I mean, it has to be with my sons, right? So I managed to effectively complete the trifecta with my three boys this year. So JC, who's a golf pro also in Arizona, he caddied for me in my first major at the PGA Championship at Bell Reeve. And then my son Hugh caddied for me at my first senior major, which was the Senior PGA Championship at the Concession Club, and that was in April. And then I Monday qualified about a month ago into another Champions Tour event at Dick's Sporting Goods Open, and my younger son Gregor caddied for me in that. So now all three sons can say they're tour caddies, right? So that's super cool for me to be able to do that. I mean, my walk is different because I became a teaching pro for 12 years before my game and my finances and my confidence and everything kind of came to a peak around 2011. And that's when I made it through all the stages of Q school. So I went to the pre and the one and the two and the final stage. And at that time, I had a chance to get a PGA Tour card in Palm Springs. So for me to basically go from a 12-year teaching pro to a full-time playing pro was huge. And that was very validating because, I've won some spots into some of these tournaments as a club pro, winning a section event, which gets me into a Waste Management Phoenix Open, for example, or a Shriners. And I always felt like there was always like a little asterisk there, like, well, he got in the tournament, but it was a club pro spot, right? Well, nobody can take it away from me that I made it through all the stages of Q school and I earned my Corn Ferry at the time nationwide tour card. So like you can't take that away from somebody. It doesn't matter. They can look at me as a club pro because I've worked in the club pro business, but I also earned my status on tour. And that's also what was very validating. A few weeks ago for the Dicks, I earned my spot there. It wasn't a section spot. I'd made it through pre-qualifying and the Monday qualifier to play in, my first Champions Tour event, even though it was technically my second senior event. So
How do you go, I guess, handling the pressure and the nerves where it just goes from a normal event to like a major? Like what does that feel like? Is there anything that you have to, I guess, reinforce in your brain as the week's going on prior to that Thursday?
I mean, it is nuts. Funny story. I mean, I'm playing uh, actually my second PGA championship at Bethpage. And at this point, I've played in the 2017 Waste Management Phoenix Open, just a shit show.
I went to that one.
Did you?
I was
Right.
there.
So,
Yeah.
200,000 people packed in, and this is my first like big tour event. And I'm teeing off on a Thursday afternoon. And I worked with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and we did a Tuesday event. So I went out with Ben Crane, Kevin Streelman, and we played 9 holes. And in front of about 300 people on the 10th tee, I absolutely topped my 3-wood like straight into a bush right off the tee box. And everybody was like, "It's okay." They were clapping. "It's okay. Hit another one." And then my caddy handed me my driver, and he's like, "Okay, you're so nervous. We are not going to be hitting a small-headed club. We're going to be hitting the biggest surface that you." And then at Bethpage, I was like, "Okay, this is my third event now. I got the blinders on, the blinkers on, as we say in Australia, and I'm on the range, and I'm just smashing wedges after wedges after wedges." And then my caddy, Will Newman, is like, "Oh, Craig, you better stop." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I look over to my left, and Brooks Koepka is standing there, and he looks at me and puts his hands up like this, looks at me, and he's like, "I thought I was going to get buried alive over here," because all my divots were flying and like pelting him. And so, he went on to win. He went on to win at Bethpage, destroyed everybody with the first round 63. To get over the nerves, I mean, I'm kind of there now. I think the way I've described it to people in the past is the number of holes or days it takes you to feel comfortable. So the Waste Management Phoenix Open, first time on that type of stage, I played all 36 holes, and I was nervous the entire time.
Mm.
Then I go to my first PJ Championship at Bellerive, and I think I'm nervous for about 24 holes, right? Then
Yeah.
I go to Page, and I'm nervous for maybe 18 holes. And then the more tournaments I played, the less holes I'm nervous. But even the Dick's Sporting Goods Open, I'm still nervous for probably about the first 2 or 3 holes. So that's kind of how it plays out for me. But I'm at the point now where I don't really think of it as nerves for the sake of like, don't embarrass yourself. I think of it as more nerves for now excitement, because I know I can compete and I know I can hang with those players. And that's where I, as most sports psychologists would say, translate that nervousness into excitement, and make it feel exciting rather than anxious.
Yeah. Can you describe maybe what those feelings are like for you? Because obviously some people would have the upset stomach, or like for me it was always just my brain felt like it was in fast forward. What's it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the physiological side of it. The hands are a little clammy. The hands are a little shaky. The heart rate's elevated. Um, this Waste Management Phoenix Open, I've already topped one in a practice round, and now I have to tee off in round one, and there's thousands of people around there. And then you get around, I teed off on the back nine late on a Thursday at like 1:10. So by the time I'm coming through the 16th hole, it's like 2:30 in the afternoon, and everybody is totally hammered and cheering and going nuts.
Except for me, I was there and I was in the skybox. I was just looking at my little ticket here from that. So February 2nd, 2017. It's crazy that,
Yeah.
like, I couldn't imagine what it would be like. I've played that golf course without the stands up, and I couldn't imagine what it would be like with the stands and however many people there are around there. And did it did the walk from 15 green to 16 tee even feel more elevated with the nerves?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming, and you go through the tunnel, and there's a little porter potty in there that you can stop at if you need to. But then you come out of there through the wooden thing, and then it's boom into that whole stadium environment. And you got all your friends and family, and they're all cheering for you. But then you got everybody else that you don't even know. They've already researched the groups. They know who's coming. They're yelling Jackson State stuff down, Sonic Boom of the South. They're like yelling all kinds of stuff. And, and I'm just thinking, I'm talking to my caddy, Will, and I'm like, all right, what do we got? And the one thing you forget, you check the wind and everything, but when you're in the stadium, you can't tell where the wind's going. And
Mm,
depending on your club selection, you'll hit it out of the apex of the stadium, and then that's when it gets hit with the wind. Or if you hit one low enough, you can keep it under the wind and keep it inside the stadium. So you have to actually choose your club based on the trajectory that you're going to try to hit it at.
yeah.
So that in itself was nuts. I've played that tournament twice. I've missed the green 3 times. I've got booed 4 times, and so I actually missed the green on an approach, short right, had a beautiful flop shot up onto the green, and it rolled an inch off the green, and I got booed because my ball rolled off the edge of the green.
That's cool.
Crazy.
So, with all these big events that you've played, is there ever a moment where you, like, I guess, truly felt like, hey, I belong at this level?
Yeah, I mean, at Belle Reve, we went out, we played 18 holes. The next day we went out, and on Friday, Tiger Woods and I had the same tee time, but just opposite tees. So it's a buzz out there. Everybody's watching Tiger. But at Belle Reve, there's a lot of crisscross and other holes where you can kind of see the massive crowds over here. And I was only a couple over par through, probably 28 holes or something like that. I was doing great. And then a massive storm came up, and we got called off the course. So we had a rain delay, but it was so late in the day that they just said, look, we're going to postpone it till tomorrow. We need everybody back out to their holes at like 7 a.m. And that was a rough sleep, because I had to shoot, I think, 2 under in my last 6 holes to make the cut. So it was going to be difficult, obviously, in a major to do that, but not impossible. And so I felt really proud of kind of where I was and where I put myself, and how I handled it. My story, growing up in Australia and being born actually in Papua New Guinea and living in Darwin, and the whole thing kind of came out. And so I had headlines and people, calling on me for interviews 3, 4 times a day. And so there was part of it that made me more nervous, but then there was another part of it that made me feel like, oh, I'm actually getting more publicity than Adam Scott probably did that whole week, which was fascinating. So, and the fact that I played well enough to put myself in a position to make a cut in a major, felt great. So I felt pretty good at that time.
So, you would have played with a wide variety of, I guess, professional golfers over your time that,
Mm.
can all play really good. But what separates those, I guess, good pros from the great pros? You talked about guys like Brooks Koepka and that. And you may not have played with him, but maybe you've observed mannerisms and all that sort of stuff. But have you noticed anything that separates the guys that have just stayed okay versus the ones that have gone on to have great careers?
Yeah. It is, I'm going to describe it as just an unwavering self belief, which, quite frankly, just comes across as just flat out cocky and arrogance. But in an athletic space, you can look at that and go, "Wow, that individual is so cocky, so arrogant." But I've learned that that's it. Like, you don't have to necessarily be a jerk to people. You don't have to be rude to people. But if you have that unwavering self belief that you can accomplish it, you will accomplish it. You'll go out there. Like, there's been many times where I've said, I am going to qualify, like the Stick Sporting Goods. less than a month ago. I said, I am going to qualify. I'm going to do it. And I've done that many times and not made it, but I've also done it and made it through that. And it's just like carrying yourself. I can tell you in this generation, the kids call it aura.
Yeah.
If you have aura,
Yeah.
if you have if you have supreme aura, you know you can handle just about anything. And what's super important too is that you don't lose aura. There's plenty of guys that will step on the first tee and be, 1, 2, 3, 4 under par. They'll come through a stretch of holes and then start making bogeys. Then they start kind of getting mad. Their shoulders slump, and they start like looking like a different person, and they're losing aura. They're totally
Mm.
losing aura. Those players that know that they're just going to rise to the occasion, they just kind of dig themselves out and they don't lose aura.
So, having been around the best in the world, if you could go back now and give your younger playing self one, let's say you're having a chat with you as a college player,
Yeah.
what would one piece of advice be that you'd give yourself?
Well, when I came from Australia to America, I competed my first year at Jackson State. I had the number one stroke average in all of Division One golf. I won my first college tournament. I shot 64 in the second round, set a course record, tournament record, individual record for the school, won the tournament, and that was my first college tournament. I then went on to shoot I had like 3 or 4 more tournaments that fall, and the worst place finish I think I had was sixth. So when Golf Stats did the printout, it said Craig Hocknull, number one, all of Division One golf, number one in the conference, and I also had a 4.0 GPA at college. I had aura, right? And unfortunately for me, what happened was my teammates saw that as cocky and arrogant, and they tried to basically beat it out of me. They were not happy that this Aussie kid had come over and was doing as well as I was. And you know what? As I look back, I probably was a bit of a prick at times, and I was probably a little too full of myself and a little too cocky and a little too arrogant. But I think what I wanted my team to come around me and my coach to come around me and go, let's go. You got this. Like, let's keep this thing going. But it went the other way, and they tried to basically like squash it out of me. So what I would tell my younger self is don't listen to them.
Mm.
Just keep doing what you know you're doing. Believe in yourself. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Um, and who knows? Who knows how it would have played out. I consider myself a very kind, very caring person. I'm a coach, right?
Yeah.
I love to help people. So I have two hats. I have the hat of it's almost like looking at a doctor, and like the stethoscope is on, so that doctor's there to help you, right? Um, but then it's like I put on another helmet, and it's like, okay, I'm ready for battle. So
Mm.
when I've been able to switch back and forth throughout my career, those that get to see both sides of it are actually kind of shocked. Like, I've had students come and watch me in some of these tournaments, and they'll be right there on the ropes as I'm leaving from one green to the next tee, and I'll just walk right by them and I won't even see them. And they'll have their hand out to fist bump me or high five me because they'll tell me this later. They'll be like, "Oh, I was trying to give you knuckles, and you just walked by," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, like I just didn't even see you. I was just so focused on what it was that I was doing." And so I think that's kind of like the biggest difference in these young players. And I've got to play with some great players. I mean, I just played the New Zealand PGA Championship at Paraparaumu, earlier this year in February, right? So that's an Australasian tour event, and so I'm playing with and against a lot of Australia, New Zealand's rising stars playing in that event, and I've played with a bunch of them over here. I mean, just a few years ago, my last PGA Tour event was 2023, was the Shriners, and I'm playing with Will Zalatoris in a
Yeah.
practice round. And I'm seeing these guys that are world beater type players, and yes, they hit it far, but I know players that hit it further than them. One of my students right now, has 143-mile-an-hour club head speed. He's a 25-year-old young man and just annihilates the ball. Um, but at the same time, like I'm out there competing. I got to compete against in 1 year or in basically less than 12 months, competed against a 22-year-old rising star from Australia and New Zealand, and then also Bernard Langer and Ernie Els.
Yeah.
So being able to compete against both players in both, multiple generations, basically, it's super cool.
We're welcoming a new partner to the Your Golf Performance podcast. This will be a performance analytics partner, Circles, or Draw More Circles as you may know them, the ultimate tool for tracking your golf progress. Whether you're a junior golfer, college player or coach, the everyday club golfer, or a golf professional, Draw More Circles allows you to easily track and analyze your performance like never before. With their innovative performance analytics, you get insights into your game that go far beyond just the scorecard. From strokes gain metrics to detailed reports on every aspect of your play, you can pinpoint exactly where to focus your practice to improve faster. One of the best features that I've found with Circles is the course management tool, which will take your physical data to help you navigate around the course smarter. They're actually taking your stats that you've entered into the system and helping you strategically play a better game of golf. Plus, it's perfect for coaches who want to keep track of their players' development and offer data-driven advice. If you can't measure it, you're guessing. The best part is that as you are one of my listeners, you'll get exclusive access to their services through our partnership. These prices are too hot to mention, and I'll need you to email me. My email address is brentdalegolf@gmail.com, or feel free to message me on Instagram at brentdalegolf. We welcome Circles to the team. Just going back to your college, I guess, experience, we'll call it, like it's hard if someone is proud of what they're doing and they've got their good grades and a good scoring average, and that person needs to feel confident in themselves. There's no way you want to try to pull them down to, like, it's no good for anyone, right? And I've said to a few kids that I coach, like, whether you are shit or you think you're shit, you're going to be shit, right? If you're negatively talking about yourself. And it flips the other way as well. Like if you're constantly, you could be borderline delusional if you constantly think you're great and you're not great. But I think it goes more on that, it weights more on that side. If you're thinking that you are better and you feel in a good place about yourself, you're going to naturally perform better than being that person that sits back and goes, yeah, I'm no good. I suck at this. I suck at that. You want to be, I guess, arrogantly cocky in a way. I think that's what I see. A lot of the answers on this just come back to, like, the unwavering self-belief.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I love the word aura right now, because it kind of wraps up the whole thing.
So,
Like,
so what does it mean when my students tell me I've got negative aura? No, I'm only kidding. I got one kid that always mucks around and says it to me when I'm telling them to do something.
yeah. Well, do you have Riz? That's
It's hard to keep. I've got a 7-year-old son who's filling me in on all these words, and I'm finally at that age now where I don't understand half the words that they're saying, and I'm that old man at the club that, when I was a kid, geez, how does he not know these words? Now I'm that man. So, you become one of the most respected coaches in the industry. How would you describe, I guess, your coaching philosophy?
yeah. Frankly, I think it's just more old school. I have access to everything, all the TrackMan data, all the force plates, all the 3D analysis, everything I want. And what I found is that over the years, the more information I learn, the more I realize that I was right from the beginning, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was right from the very, very beginning, but there was a time as I sorted through all the muck and mess of what actually works. I started to realize that there was a pattern and there was a certain way that really helped people play their best golf. Um, Frankly, as a player, if I only filtered my decision making and my coaching philosophy through two things. One, is it healthy for my body, which will allow me to play for longer? And two, will it hold up under pressure? That's it. If it doesn't fit through one of those two filters or both filters, I'm not going to use it. So every single thing that's come along from all of my time at Coralbin and even my time through college where I dabbled with a lot of David Ledbetter stuff, and I caddied for Mac O'Grady in 2 tour events. So, I've been basically educated on the MORAD system and some of the golf machine stuff. I read as much of the golf machine as I could handle, looking through Hogan's books, etc. All of it was for the sole purpose of making more birdies. And then as time went on, as I learned more about biomechanics and my kinesiology training from my college days, I learned that it's one thing to make birdies, but at what cost? So if there's a biomechanical cost, which means I'm going to get injured, I'm going to stress my vertebrae and squish my disc to the point where I'm injured, that's not worth it, right? Maybe I get 1 year out of it and then I need spinal surgery and then I can't play anymore. So those two things is what I filter everything through. So as long as a person is moving well and not injuring themselves, that's huge. So I often ask them, how's your body doing? Is dealing with any stresses and strains? Are you dealing with any injury recovery? Any surgeries that you've had that you're kind of fighting through? Once I understand how a person moves, then what I've been really good at doing is figuring out which set of matchups will help that player. So I don't prescribe the exact same thing for every player. There's certain things that I typically will advise someone to do, but it has to fit them. It has to match their body. And then their goals. What are they trying to achieve? Because then we figure out a plan. The holding up under pressure is relative to where your goals are. If your goals are to play on the PGA Tour, that's a different pressure level than to win your member guest or your junior club championship or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
then there's a process and a plan to help you with that.
What do you believe some of the biggest mistakes golfers make when trying to improve?
Handcuffing and manipulating. Every golfer at some point has said, if I do this thing or hold it this tight or do this thing, I'll play better. But the truth of it is that one thing, that extra hold on, that extra grip pressure, that grip change that causes their wrists to be compromised, that's going to cause an injury. And those individuals, our brain is powerful, right? So we can tell our body to do something for the sake of birdies that ultimately causes injury. So when a player is compensating and manipulating, and I call them handcuffing maneuvers, like strapping something to their body or standing a certain way, and they're going against natural flow of biomechanics and good physics, you're going to lose at some point. It's just a downward spiral.
While we're on the coaching side of things and you being a great player, there's debate over, there should be one shot shape or whether you should be able to move it both ways. What camp do you sit in?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a desire, right? Like I would desire to hit the ball straight at the pin. I just want to make sure that my miss, whatever shot shape that is not in trouble, right? So as far as a camp, I personally see straight, right? And off the tee box, all drivers are basically designed to go pretty straight. And the straighter you swing them, the straighter the ball actually goes. I think trying to curve woods because of bulge and roll on the club face is just a bad idea in general, because the whole engineering behind bulge and roll is just hit it straight, because the club face is actually going to counteract some of your maneuvers, right? Like you can take a 2-iron and hit like a hold off cut, but if you whack a driver with a hold off cut maneuver off the toe, now you get a duck hook. But you would never duck hook that 2-iron because you'd hit a slappy cut. But you do that with a driver with bulge and roll, and now you've got a duck hook. So off the tee, I play a dead straight ball. I also believe that the longer the iron, the fairway wood, bringing it in with a higher fade is just more conducive to control of the ball. If you're playing a tour quality course like a Waste Management Phoenix Open, where the greens are firm and rolling 14, You can't bring a 5-iron in flat. I don't care who you are. You got
Yeah.
to bring it high and soft. On the other end of the spectrum, you can bring in a gap wedge or a sand wedge with a low draw, like a Zach Johnson, where you flight it in, 105 yards with a 56 degree, 15 feet right of the pin, have it hop, spin, and come backwards. So trapping draws with short irons, flighting little fades with long irons, and then basically just hitting all of my woods as straight as I can. That's kind of how I go about it.
I think we're very similar. I had a chat with Nick Kleinard, the coach from Auburn University, and we were talking today about sort of low draw wedges into greens, and that's the pattern that I like. And he was sort of saying it's the same for him. So, all right. Well, there's going to be some listeners sitting back that struggle with course management, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've got let's just imagine we've got a green and there's bunkers either side, and the pin's cut back left.
Mm-hmm.
What type of shot are you hitting in there?
Yeah, so if you think of as a right-handed golfer with the pin is back left, we have this shot shape ellipse, right? So a ball that typically goes left for us goes long left. The ellipse goes the other way, so a shot that is weaker and fannier typically goes short right.
Mm-hmm.
So with the back left pin, what I'm able to do is take less club, aim for the middle of the green, and let the draw or even a little pull draw kind of work its way back to that pin. So I'm going to gain yardage. So let's say the middle of the green is 150 yards, but I've got 10 more yards, so it's 160 to the back left pin. I'll take my 150-yard club and play the draw because it will work its way from 150 to 160 as it gets closer to the pin.
Yep.
And then the opposite is true if I go the other way.
All right. So you'd be aiming, say, center of the green. Let's say the green's 30 yards wide and the pin's cut on the left third. Are you aiming sort of center, and that way if it doesn't draw, you're still okay? You'd never, for the average golfer listening, you'd never aim at that back left flag, would you?
No.
What if
I don't really aim at any flag ever, because even a 60-degree wedge from 85 yards for me is coming in just a little bit right to left. So I'm always aiming just a little bit right of the pin and having it spin toward the pin.
Yep.
The most important thing on a back left pin is that you just don't ever go left of the pin.
Mm-hmm.
So I might even aim middle to even right side of the green, knowing that it's going to draw, because I can't overdraw it and get it past the pin on the left and over toward the left bunker.
Yeah, and I think this is probably where a lot of amateurs go wrong. They've got that back left pin and they hit a shot at it or whatever, and then they get up and they've short-sighted themselves. They've got this chip and it could be to a super quick green, and then 20 feet's a good shot, and then all of a sudden they've made a quick double and they're walking off with the shits when it was more of their second shot just aimed too far left or too close to the pin.
Yeah, and one thing I see a lot too is if I have a stock draw with a 9-iron, right? Let's say it always draws. I aim at the middle of the green and I hit my draw. I know it draws.
Yep.
What I see most amateurs do, even though they may have a standard ball flight, let's say they normally play a draw, here's what they don't do. They don't aim at the middle of the green and let their ball draw. They aim at the middle of the green and then try to make it draw. So it's like a double whammy. They already draw the ball, and now they're going to try to draw it even more. So that's what causes them a lot of times to kind of hook it or pull it, because they don't have the confidence, or they don't believe that if they aim in the middle of the green, it will draw. So you don't actually have to make anything draw, right? So it's more along the lines of learn your shot, whatever your shot does, and then try to play accordingly so that I'm never looking at a pin, 150-yard shot, thinking I'm going to draw this to the pin. I'm aiming just right, knowing if I hit it the way I normally do, it will start to the middle and it will draw just a little bit. And if it doesn't draw, then it's right in the middle of the green.
You love this game, and you play a game all your own. Helping you shoot lower scores is why we created the Titleist Pro V1, Pro V1X, and the new Pro V1X Left Dash. 3 proven combinations of flight, spin, and feel and one that's best for your game. It's the ultimate choice for the ultimate scoring power. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf.
You've done a bit of work with speed training over the years.
Yes, yeah.
What are golfers getting wrong when they're trying to create more speed?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I see is everybody thinks now that they need to push off the ground and they need to use their legs so much more. It's a pretty easy sell, right? Like anybody will, I'll say, don't use your legs, just use your hands. And then they'll come back with, well, aren't your legs the strongest part of your body? I'm like, well, they may be the strongest, but they're not as fast as your hands, right?
Yeah.
The biggest mistake I see, or in the low hanging fruit for the average golfer, is hand speed, right? So if you have somebody that can throw a ball really well with their right hand, cricket ball, baseball, whatever it is, they can skip a rock. They should be leveraging that hand as fast as they can to increase speed. And it's simple as that. Send the message from your brain to your right hand, whack the ball. If somebody is a lefty, right, playing right-handed, well, would they take a frisbee in their left hand and wing it across the field with their left hand? Well, if that's the answer, yes. Well, take a stick, a broken shaft, an alignment rod, whatever it is, put it in your left hand and swish it with your hands, because you're going to create so much more speed with your hands than you are really with any body part, and then stack on top of that. So if I have fast hands, I can have fast arms. If I have fast arms, I can have fast shoulders, fast core. Then I can work to faster hips, and then maybe I can push off the ground a little bit. But what I've learned in all the speed training that I've done is the final, we'll call it 2% or 3% more distance comes out of the thing that everybody's practicing, right? So instead of focusing on the 97%, which is everything from the waist up, they're focusing on the 3% at the bottom to only gain 3%. Like, I've done all of this and tried to compete at this high level. You better believe I've tried to unpack every possible way to get as far as I can. And what I've learned is I can hit the ball further using my entire body from my toes to my hands. If I start with my feet, my dispersion goes like this. It's off the charts. If I kill my feet and just use them for balance and then work into my knees and hips and up, I can hit it as far as I need to and as straight as I can. It's a dangerous path to start spinning and twisting and pushing. That's how I see it.
I've had a few students that have gone off and done speed training with a, trainer here in Sydney, and they've ended up just hitting it so wide that I think, like what you're saying, they're going hard at it with the ground and their legs, and they just spin out of it, and the club, they have a hard time catching the face up. And I had a chat with, Mike, is it Romatowski, Mac 3? He was sort of saying it's speed, but out in front, like, i.e. get it back out in front of you so the club face can actually be where you want it to. And I think what you're just saying there is exceptionally correct, because I was probably of the opinion years and years ago that it's all from the ground and it's this and that. But someone did say to me, your hands move a shitload quicker than your hips and your legs and all that sort of stuff. So that's where we want to be trying to get the speed. And, I was also, you're probably the same. We were told to grip it really lightly. And, now there's arguments to say, well, we actually need to be gripping it a bit tighter than what we originally thought. And so there's, I guess,
Chambeau, when he was working on all of his speed stuff, there's two things he started doing, which are exactly biomechanically sound, thanks to Chris Como. Grip strength is massive, because if you're going to take a stick and wield it as fast as you can, you better have super strong hands, because your body will just not let you swing that fast if there's any fear that the club's going to come flying out of your hands. So just like powerlifters, they could have the most strength of anybody on the planet with their legs, but if they can't actually hold the bar, they're not going to be able to hold it strong enough to lift it, to push it above their head. And then the other thing he had to do is pack on a bunch of weight, because when you're dealing with forces and movement, you have your arm speed accelerating off of your body. If you're very, very light and you're going super, super fast, that's why you have, players like Justin Thomas getting off the ground, because they don't have the body weight to kind of hold them with all of that speed that they got going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's the worst thing that happened, in my opinion, is when we started mapping kinesthetic chain, and it was K-Vest and it was TPI, and it is without a doubt, there is a sequence, a kinetic chain of events, and it does start from the ground up. The problem is when the athlete starts thinking from the ground up. All of the reactionary forces and everything that takes place with our feet and our legs are exactly that, reactionary to what we can create with our hands and arms. Once we get, think of it like karate. If this is white belt and then this is like yellow belt, you can work your way all the way to double black belt with your footwork if you want. But if you're a beginner golfer or even an avid golfer who's never thought of using their hands, you need to start at white belt so that you can figure out how to get hand speed up before you start trying to plug in the rest.
I love it. Technology has obviously transformed coaching. You feel like it's made some coaches better or just reliant on data?
So what I've seen and I've witnessed on the lesson tee is, think of it like an X-ray machine. You may have this amazing degree in radiology and an X-ray pops up and you're like, yep, that's a broken bone. That's what a lot of coaches do, is they say, that's 4 degrees from the inside. That's a 4-degree path. And then the next shot, your face was closed 2 degrees. So all they're doing is they might as well, TrackMan might as well have Alexa or some voice. I know it does. It's Tracy or something like that. You might as well have a TrackMan voice that just spits out the information for you. What I'm not hearing is the doctor talk to the X-ray technician, and the X-ray technician says, yes, you have a fracture in that bone. And then the doctor comes in and says, okay, well, here's what we have to do. We have to reset the bone. We have to put you in a cast, whatever it is. So unfortunately, what I'm seeing is a lot of golf coaches, especially the younger ones that are being introduced to the technologies first, they know how to read what the TrackMan numbers say. And there is a little deeper level to that. I'm not going to talk too badly about a coach that knows those numbers, but what are you going to do? What picture are you going to paint for the golfer? What story are you going to tell that's going to help them understand the thing that you're trying to communicate to them? So ultimately, your ability to communicate is the most important thing as a coach.
Yeah.
If you can take that piece of information, look at the TrackMan, look at the numbers, bring it into your own brain, do the Rubik's Cube in your brain, and then go, okay, the one root cause thing that this student needs is this, and then give it to them. That's huge, right?
That's coaching.
Have you heard the story of the guy who was fixing the submarine, and the submarine was broken, and they brought in 20 guys to fix it, and they were charging $50,000 a piece to fix it, and they couldn't get it done. And they brought this little old crotchety guy in there, and he had his little toolbox, and he walked into the thing and he listened to it, and he took his hammer and he whacked the machine, and it started, and the submarine started working again. And then he sent them an invoice for $100,000. And then they sent him a message back and said, we need to itemize. Why are you charging $100,000? All you did was take your hammer and tap it. And he itemized it, and he said, hammer tap, $100, right? Knowing where to tap, $999,000, So as a coach, it's the most important thing. That's why I like to think of myself still as a little bit more old school, because I've learned over 30 years of coaching and playing that I know where to tap. I know what the root cause is for that student to, frankly, change their life in a sense. We have members at these clubs that spend an awful lot of money and time working on their games. I need to be able to get them better faster so that they can enjoy the investment that they're putting in. So that's what I feel like I've been able to learn as much as I can for that one sole purpose, just know exactly the root cause thing to work on.
Are you still, when I saw you in Orlando, you were doing the Sabre golf stuff? Is that still going?
Yep. Yeah, we're still selling sabers. People watch a YouTube video, they'll jump on my website, order them from all over the world. So it's still going quite well, actually. And I've got a lot of other different products on there. But I'm very proud of that because it really does help people understand how to know where the club face is, develop some speed, work on their technique, their timing. So no, it's been great.
Do you want to just give the website a quick plug while we're here?
Yeah, it's Saber, Saber golf. So just type in Saber golf, or you can type in Craig Hocknull, and the Google machine knows where to find it. So.
All right. Just before we wrap up, looking back over your career as a player, coach, I guess now inventor and entrepreneur, what are you most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, I asked my kids this question not too long ago. I said, "What's your thoughts? Like, how did I do as a dad? Because that's really the most important thing." I asked them, "How did I do?" Like, I was gone a lot for a lot of different things, whether it was playing tournaments or working in different parts of the country. And I said, "How'd I do?" And they said, "You're an amazing dad." And I said, "Did it? Were you ever sad, or were you ever worried that I, wasn't there when I needed to be there?" And they're like, "Nope." They're like, "We always knew you're coming back."
Yeah.
If they always knew that I was coming back, it didn't matter if I was gone for a week or a month or 4 months when I went to New Zealand. They always knew I was coming back. And some of the time that they were growing up, there wasn't as much internet and FaceTime and the ability to do video chats like we're doing, which has helped over the years. But I would say, like, being able to do me, right? Like, if I wanted to invent a training aid or a putter, or if I wanted to go qualify and play in a tournament, or if I just wanted to work and teach 6-year-olds how to do grip, stance, bow, pop, drops, to do their routine, or work with an elite junior golfer to get them a college scholarship. I've always felt like I wake up every day and I'm excited to go out and coach and play and do the things that is on my schedule. Like today, I qualified for our match play championship. So tomorrow, I've got hopefully 36 holes, 2 matches to get through, and hopefully go on to win a championship in the metropolitan section. So, and I qualified and I gave 4 lessons, and I'm going right back out again tomorrow. So it's like, just fun. I'm just really, really blessed to be able to do all those things.
We are in an industry, if you get it right, it can be super rewarding to be able to do. Like, I'm sitting here, I've recorded 2 podcasts today, and I'm going to head over in about an hour and coach for the afternoon and then hang out with my family. So we're in a pretty blessed industry.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, mate. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a few of those cool stories. And we wish you the best in your playing career. And there'll be a few more people following your journey now after this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for what you're doing, giving me an opportunity to come and share some stories. And like you said, hopefully pick up some fans maybe out there that want to learn a little bit more from me, or buy a saber, or watch a YouTube video, or whatever it is. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, Craig.